We're good? Okay. Uh, Thank you very much, council colleagues. Just want to report out that direction was provided by staff during our closed meeting in regards to Bell Hall, and we're going to invite Mr. Shute to carry on with the consideration of tenders or the proposed awarding of tenders as per the information provided in your package. So, Mr. Shute.
Right, thank you. So as you can see, Council, in this report, we were seeking with staff to have the first of the major key trades the next tender package approved in this. So these are the larger trades which are above the procurement authority and sign-off authority of staff, and so they do need to come to Council here as part of the municipality's procurement policy. And so or bylaw, I should say. So looking at these ones, you'll notice that there are three areas here. There is drywall and framing. So that's the steel framing and drywall components. So that's all the non-load bearing walls inside of the building, the plumbing and the HVAC to be awarded as well, and then electrical. And so we have those three. And I don't know if you'd like me to present further through this, or if you folks, whatever your preference is, I can certainly go through it, but I don't want to read the report to you. But if folks have questions, or I can give a brief summary of each of them if that's better.
Council colleagues, do you want Mr. Shute just to provide a quick overview, and then we'll go, but please, no need to read the entire report.
For
Absolutely.
Sure, 100%.
Okay.
And so we can look through and start to scroll down as we go a little bit, if you don't mind, whoever's got that, to scroll down slightly as we go through this. There are a couple of reasons that we wanted to propose these. So these are the most important trades from a financial perspective, the larger. So as part of it, as it pertains to moving forward with the capital funding and making draws against the capital funding, it's important for us to secure a larger percentage of the subcontracts under the builder, so that we can show that a majority of the project, actually 66%, is locked in. So that's one of the reasons that we're looking to do this quickly. The other one is that from a layout perspective, to keep the building working, right now we've torn everything out, and these are the groups that we really need to be part of there. There is some underground structural work. There are some grade beams, which sort of look like a spider web of concrete beams across that run underground in the building to support the deep foundations. And those need to be taken into consideration with the other trades here, like the plumbers, to make sure that there's room for the pipes to go through. So we want the layout of all of these trades to be available. And so we recommended these three to go right away. So you'll notice on the drywall, which is at the top of your screen, there's two, at the top of the screen, we have those bids. And so we've looked at lowest compliant bids for these and made a recommendation on each of these. So starting with drywall, the recommendation was to go with Accurate Drywall. So Accurate Drywall, you will note, is not the lowest bidder, but we did deem, and then the builder deemed to be the lowest compliant bidder. The bid, which you'll see furthest to the right, is lower at face value, but has a large amount of exclusions in it. And based on the comparison between, we do not feel is able, with the number of exclusions, which are inclusions of the other bidder, would be able to be a compliant bidder. And generally, that means that there will be changes that need to be added, which will introduce additional costs to the project. So we deem them lowest compliant, as did the builder. Moving on to, and I should add, I'll say with each of these where these firms are from. We've had a lot of interest in this project from firms from across the province, but the bidders that were compliant here are all fairly local. So the drywall is an Ottawa firm. As we move ahead to the middle of the screen, you'll see HVAC and plumbing. And so that is the mechanical scope. So those two, it's one of the largest scopes. The largest combined, when you put those two together, is the largest single contract in the project. This is common. Mechanical systems are expensive, and this has a high quality electrical mechanical system for the VRF, the variable refrigerant, sort of like a building wide heat pump system to do heating and cooling. And so it is more expensive, but you put those together versus some of the other considerations. Again, these comes through as the lowest compliant. This is Loudiser, they're from Cornwall. So not super far, just down the road. And this is not a trade we've worked with, but we have confidence from what they put forward in their tender and from the conversations that have happened over the past couple of months during the tender that they are a good fit. The last one, some of you may recognize their recommendation, and this is the electrical. Again, on this one, we ended up with 6 bids, so it was a lot of interest in this. The lowest bid on this one was a local company. It was Decor from Kemptville, and they are familiar with the campus, which is great, and they've been immensely helpful. We can't say enough about that. You may or may not know, but the campus has remarkably complex electrical infrastructure underground, a little bit overhead, and wow, what a I don't want to call it a snake's nest, but it's kind of is a snake's nest of wires and everything running underground. And so having Decor there has been helpful. They've helped out along the way. They've been doing some minor work that's been paid, where they've done little work along the way to get temporary electric in there. But they've also really helped out along the way outside of the tender process. And then they ended up having a low bid. So we're really thrilled to see that, because they've been a really good team to work with so far. So we're quite excited about that. And he's again one of probably the second largest single scope in this project, and nice to have that going to a local firm. So. Again, their experience not only with the campus but also with Hydro One locally is a real positive as we try to get this going, because one of the critical path items we often run into is getting hydro, and they're well known to the hydro team here, and of course having their two components to their firm of being able to do both the electrical but also the site electrical, the servicing of the building, is really valuable. It's nice to have that all in one when we can, and it's not common that we find a firm that we end up working with the same one for both. So we're quite happy about that. So those are three that we would recommend. And again, they are the lowest compliant bidder.
Okay, colleagues. So Adrian's provided a quick but important overview with lots of information. Any questions in regards to these tenders? Of course, Ms. Martin has delegated authority for up to a certain amount. So there's, I think, many other tenders that have been managed through delegated authority for lower values, but these are ones that hit the threshold. And obviously, that's why they're here at the council table. And we always appreciate getting context and insight into some of the larger elements of the rehabilitation and transformation of Bell Hall. So thank you very much. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder for the awards. Councillor Wilson, Councillor Strachian. They're stated as being drywall and ceilings be awarded to Accurate Drywall in the amount that you see on your screen. Plumbing and HVAC be awarded to Oscar Ladouceur Mechanical in the amount of $3,100,000, and the electrical be awarded to Decor Electric in the amount of $2,428,870. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any last questions or comments? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote then. All in favor? Okay. Thank you very much for all of the information and the work. And to Ms. Martin and her team, I know it's a big job, but the community is excited. And can I ask, while we have you, from a timeline perspective, how are we doing? Because I think we were eager, of course, and I know it's been an all hands on deck approach.
Sure.
What are you thinking in terms of initial timeline versus where we're at now?
For sure. So I think initially we've always been aiming at, our goal was to get this done in 2027, and I think that's still very possible. Our current schedule extends slightly beyond that into February of 2028. But one of the next steps that will take place, and as you mentioned, these are the bids that need to come initially here to council for approval. Ms. Martin will be able to approve the rest with the rest of the team at the staff level. And so as we go through this, which will be happening over the next couple, I think we actually have some that are ready to go as well that we may bring probably in the next couple of days to the staff team to continue. Once these trade partners are selected, the next step is to actually go through the schedule with all of those trades and make sure that the assumptions that were baked in originally are valid, and that can we find more room to overlap trades? It is a big building and it's very spread out. So unlike a lot of buildings like this, which are in a high-rise configuration, it's really hard to put people on top of each other or different teams. We have a lot of different separate areas to put different teams in. And so we are fairly confident that the schedule can be advanced from what we're currently showing. And we're hopeful that we'll be doing it at some point our goal is early in Q4 of 2027. We will see. And I suppose that will be on the record. So we'll see how that goes for me. But that is our goal right now, is we would like to see that advance to some point in the, in the October range of 2027. We think is possible at this point, but we will be working with the trade partners that we go through and make sure, and that is a consideration during the tender as well, that we make sure with the builder that these trades are able to meet at minimum that schedule. And often it's a good sign if they are able to say they can improve upon it. And so we do take that into consideration as well throughout this process.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, best of luck in the coming months, and we look forward to hearing back from you before too long.
Indeed. Thank you all.
Thank you. So with that, colleagues, I think at this stage, we will carry on with our reports, or do you want to go back into closed? Ms. Lee? It's at our discretion. Council colleagues, I would suggest at this stage that perhaps we go through a couple of the other reports before going back into closed. Is there a preferred, I know Michelle is here. I don't know who else is here for closed items. Is it just Michelle? Okay, so we have that one item. I look to you, colleagues. When would you like to go back into closed? Do you want to get through some of the regular reports, or should we just go into closed while it's foremost in our minds? Deputy Mayor?
Maybe we can go through some of the reports and relieve staff.
Okay, well, many different staff will be relieved as we get through the reports. So why don't we will stick to the agenda. All right, so despite Deputy Mayor's contributions, which I solicited, we will not adhere to his suggestion, and we will go into another closed session. That is Section J, and we'll consider two fairly, I think, short items, being a recommendation in regards to a committee member and a funding consideration. So I'm going to look for a mover and a seconder that a closed meeting of council be held on July 7th, now at 6:25 p.m. at the North Granville Municipal Office in accordance with Section 2392 of the Municipal Act to consider committee member applications as per 2392B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal local board employee, and funding in regards to Section 2392H, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, province, or territory, or crown agency. So mover and a seconder, please. Who would like to move that? Councilor Strachan, Deputy Councilor Sullivan. Thank you. Any questions or concerns? Not seeing any. I will call the vote. All in favor? Okay. Okay, 7:25. That's 9 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes, council colleagues. Oh, we're just waiting for Debbie. Where did Debbie go? So council colleagues, I'm just letting you know that I will be leaving at 8:30 for another very important commitment. So I have prepared Deputy Mayor to take over this. I have another professional commitment at 8:30, which is a national town hall. So with that in mind, I will be exiting the chair, so I will have to take a quick break at 8:25 so I can transition out of the chair, and Deputy Mayor will take over the rest. So at this point, the order of the agenda will remain. So I think as soon as Councillor Wilson is back, we will start the award. Sorry, I don't mean award. I mean the agenda, which includes some additional awards, but I'm not sure I will be here for those sections. But I will have to take a brief pause in order to transition the chair at 8:25. There we are. Councillor Wilson, we didn't know where you were, but here you are. You emerge. All right. So live stream good to go? Okay. So colleagues, welcome back. In regards to the closed session, 2 items. In regards to transit funding, council has directed staff to move forward as discussed and closed with regards to, again, the rural transit funding. In regards to identifiable individuals, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to appoint 2 individuals to the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, and chairperson, perhaps you could share their names with council.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We have Charles Bennett and Dan Dolmage, who have been appointed to the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, both well-known in the community and have extensive ag and farming experience. So they'll be definitely value added. They have been already attending as members of the public to these advisory committee meetings, and we hope to see them continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
So they will be
They will be, yes.
appointed, subject to a vote of council. I assume you would like to move that?
I will, thank you.
And Councillor Wilson will second. And I'll just look to council colleagues. Any comments or questions in regards to the recommendation? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? All right, that carries. So that concludes the rest of our closed business this evening. So we are now moving on to the next section of the agenda, which is M, reports. And under our first item, we have the licensing bylaw and open air bylaw updates. PD 2026-026, and I believe the chief has joined us as Ms. Martin has. I don't know who's kicking this one off. I defer to staff.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to highlight that since May, there have been no changes brought forward to any of the licensing bylaws as it relates to door-to-door sales, the refreshment vehicles, or transient traders. And there is a presentation, and perhaps if the clerk were able to pull it up to the map for the open air bylaw, we'll turn it over to Chief Urslack to provide an update on the changes that were made to the mapping for his bylaw. Thank you.
Yes, so finally, the Schedule A changes. Schedule A has been updated. Sorry, Madam Mayor. Through you to you, Madam Mayor, sorry about that.
No worries.
The map has been updated to revise the open air bylaw boundary to reflect recent residential growth, newly developed subdivisions, and the addition of Fur Lane, the college, and surrounding developed areas. These changes ensure that open air burning restrictions remain consistent with the current population density, development patterns, and community risk considerations while maintaining public safety. We did not move the boundaries towards the north. Simply, we left everything the same. And yeah, the only changes were for the subdivisions like Oxford Village and Fur Lane and the college, and that was it. Thank you.
Thanks. So maybe to clarify, and I'll welcome any questions from council colleagues. My understanding is the extended boundaries for the prohibition of open air fires is Kemptville campus, obviously the new and residential subdivisions, and what was the third? Fur Lane.
Fur Lane.
Okay. But otherwise, those individuals in our community who are on larger lots who've enjoyed the capacity for an open air fire continue to have that
Correct.
right at this time.
At
Of
this-
course, it's subject to changes as the community evolves.
Yes, that's correct. There will be some future developments in the west of like Somerville lands across there. So we'll have to revisit at that time. But for now, the current mapping will remain the same.
Okay. Colleagues, and apart from that, Chief, going back to Ms. Martin, there are no other changes to the other bylaws that are presented this evening.
That is correct, Your Worship. The outstanding item for council's consideration was the mapping as it relates to the open air bylaw.
Councillor Wilson?
Through you, Mayor Peckford, to Chief Ursulak and Director Martin. There was just one word or one part of the bylaw that I want to flag. Open air fire. There's a definition here. I think that the last time we talked, and I think I flagged it at CDAC, we talked about outdoor wood-fired saunas. Could we add additionally outdoor wood-fired pool heaters? Because now that is different than what an outdoor wood-fired sauna is. I know there are people purchasing those and using them as pool heaters. So is this is something, I hate to throw it back and keep going back and forth on this, but do you think it's significant to add it? Or should I just?
And Councillor Wilson, you're asking for that prohibition to apply or for there to be relief from the prohibition?
Not relief, to make sure that an open air, in the definition, open air fire means any burning of material outside of a building, such as untreated wood, wood products, where the flame is not wholly contained. This includes campfires, brush fires, burn drums, windrows, air curtain incinerators, construction site and demolition fires, outdoor fireplaces, and outdoor wood fire saunas. It does not include barbecues, appliances, or fires in approved appliances outside of a building that are used as a source of heat or power for the building. I'm looking to add wood-fired pool heaters
So let's
because they are
for-
being sold and people are using them in our community. So I'm just asking, is that something that we should add to that list?
Thank you for the clarification. I was just
Yeah.
figuring it out. I'm learning as I go. There's so many dimensions of the bylaw. Chief, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Wilson. Yes, we tried to address some of these new consumer products that are out there currently, and there's a lot of different ones being sold for sure. We did include the wood-fired pizza ovens, smokers, outdoor saunas, and then we do have wording in there for similar appliances. So I'm not sure if that will capture what you're looking for. I can definitely revisit that paragraph and see if we can, but we need to, because there's so many different appliances coming out and different consumer products that are being introduced, we have to have some kind of wording that will include, as you're saying, things like that. And we tried to capture that with some of our wording already. It's difficult to capture everything.
It's difficult to capture everything, but then if somebody does have one and
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Okay, I will, I can revisit that. We can
Sorry.
have a look.
With that feedback, I'll just turn to the CEO. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With direction from council, we can add the definition as an administrative amendment if that is the wish of council.
Okay, I'll just recognize Councillor O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I guess would be to Chief Ursulak. These pool heaters, though, they're not open flame. They're kind of like a contained.
but neither is a wood sauna. A wood-fired sauna is not an open flame either. I'm saying to include it in this statement here.
Okay, fine. Okay, I just thought it wasn't open flame and that it wouldn't apply. It would be like a closed box.
Okay, great. So CEO Dunlop, go ahead.
For clarity, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Wilson. So the intent of the comment is to include as an acceptable appliance in the urban area for contained apparatus for wood-fired sauna and pool heaters.
We'll just get clarification from Councillor Wilson.
Appreciate it, Madam Mayor.
So your intention is to include those uses, not prohibit those uses. Is that right, Councillor Wilson? I misunderstood. So that's why we're trying to clarify in our own minds. Okay. And Chief, to your point, do you have any comment on that at this time?
Any of these consumer distributed appliances and such, as long as they're used to the manufacturer's
Right.
recommendations and how do you say, safety,
Yes.
align with the safe, with being safe and using them in a safe environment and within proximity to other combustibles, are safe to use.
Yeah.
But we will, that's what we've been after this whole time, is trying to capture this exact thing. And I thought maybe we had captured that, but we'll definitely add this as an administrative. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments at this stage in regards to these bylaws? Okay, and of course, Council, you'll recall that one of the functions of bringing these bylaws back, not just the fire, open air fire, but generally is to make their enforcement inclusive under AMPS, which is, as we know, a way to modernize the application of the penalty and the collection of the fee. So to be very clear, as you know, the AMPS process is separate and distinct from what historically the municipality has done, but we have gone down the path of AMPS, which is also known as the Administrative Monetary Penalty System, so as to create fairly significant efficiencies and not tie up provincial courts for bylaws that are not being adhered to in the community. So Councillor Wilson, Councillor Strachan, I'm just looking for any final comments. I think at this time, the recommendation is before you in regards to the enactment of the bylaws in question to be brought under the Administrative Monetary Penalty System, which would require a repealing bylaw 104-15. I'll look for a mover and a seconder, and we'll make sure to include the direction to ensure that wood-fired pool heaters are exempt from the prohibition. Okay. Of acceptable uses or unacceptable?
Madam Mayor, there's a
uses?
list that said this includes, and then it's that whole list, and wood-fired saunas are there, and the request is to include wood-fired pool heaters in there. So it's not include, exclude, it's a whole part of the whole paragraph, but it's part of that list.
Indeed. I think we are relatively clear on what section that is, so thank you. Okay, so with that, I will look to a mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor. Do we have a seconder for the Councillor Wilson? Thank you. The recommendation is before you. I'll look for any final comments or questions. I'm not seeing any. I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? All right, that carries. Thank you. So next, we will go to our commemorative tree planting in memory of Mr. Don Muntz. Ms. Torch.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So this report is requesting council's approval to plant a commemorative bur oak tree and install a commemorative plaque at the North Grenville Public Library in memory of Don Muntz. As you're aware, Don Muntz has made an extraordinary impact on our community through decades of volunteerism, artistic talent, and community leadership. His contributions can being seen throughout North Grenville, from the Given Garden and public projects to downtown beautification, trail development, heritage initiatives, and many other volunteer-led projects that have enriched our municipality. Staff are recommending a bur oak tree because it is a native species that represents strength, resilience, wisdom, and longevity. And so as it matures, it will serve as a long-lasting tribute to Don's legacy and the positive influence he's had over our community. The North Grenville Public Library has been identified as the preferred location as it reflects many of the values Don championed through his life, including learning, creativity, culture, and community connection. Subject to council's approval, staff will work with the library and Don's family to finalize the location and coordinate a commemorative tree planting and dedication ceremony. The cost of the tree and commemorative plaque can be accommodated within PRC's current department's budget in the existing operating budget, so no additional funding is being requested. Staff respectfully recommend that council approve the recommendation as presented.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Director Torch. I would suggest a slight change to the recommendation, and I'd be happy to move it if it included approve the planting and maintenance of a commemorative bur oak tree. Would that be possible? That's what I'm
Your
suggesting.
discretion.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other comments? And when you, should you wish to move the motion, you can do so now, and we can include that.
What I'd suggest as a motion is that council approve the planting and maintenance of a commemorative bur oak tree and installation of a commemorative plaque at the North Grenville Public Library in memory of Don Muntz in recognition of his significant contributions to the municipality of North Grenville and the broader community.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll need a seconder for that. Who would like to second that? Councilor Strachan, thank you. Other comments or questions at this stage? Yes, go ahead, Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Torch. Is this part of the commemorative gift program?
Thank you for the question. No, it's not. This is coming out of a separate tree budget to honor him. So the commemorative program, as you're aware, is a half and half initiative through the community through the budget. So no, it's not coming out of that budget line.
Okay, thank you. Is the commemorative gift program still suspended? I understood it was going to be reactivated possibly middle or end of May.
Thank you again for your question through you, Madam Mayor. That is just about, we're able to release that very shortly. We're just waiting on one outstanding item, and we'll be able to run this program back into its fruition. So we're really excited to get the program back and running.
Good, thank you. So was the tree for Diane Dufour, was that through the commemorative gift program?
Again, thank you for your question. And through you, Madam Mayor, yes, it was.
Oh, so it is already activated then. Okay, thank you.
I should say for Don Muntz, there was a request from members of the community very close to the family for council to consider a particular commemorative tree. Initially, the location that had been proposed was the Giving Garden, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know what's happened in terms of the reconsideration of location. I think the library is a lovely spot, but maybe Ms. Torch, you can speak to that.
Again, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, just where the surroundings, it's already pretty treed in that area. And if we put any trees where the Giving Garden is, it's actually going to cause a bunch of shade.
Oh.
So we can't plant it there. And just the nature of the tree that we had looked at for longevity purposes, it's not the right location for that. Where if we have it at the library, that's somewhere that it'll be lasting for a really long time.
And where would it go around the library?
Right now, there is on the corner of the library, there's just some bushes. I'm looking to actually clear those bushes out a little bit and make it a focal point when you come into the library, so it's well seen.
Okay, any other comments or questions in regards to this report? Not seeing any. So we've got a mover and a seconder. I will call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Torch, and great news about the commemorative tree program, which more generally will reactivate very shortly. Great, and hopefully we can spread the word. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to additional communication support for County Road 43, and I believe that's Ms. Dunlop's. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. As similar to 2025, this report is to cover additional communication and enhanced outreach program for the ongoing construction of County Road 43. The value that is being requested out of year-end surplus is $43,000. You may notice the significance. And what I'm looking to spend that money, should council approve, is on additional paper ads, radio ads, as well as business enhancements, which is to include things such as the hosting of the local businesses, public engagement sessions, additional signage, and the continuation of the crossing guard for the 26-27 calendar or school year. So that completes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'd like to thank municipal staff because, as you know, a multi-year construction project of this nature is complex, and every year is a new year for how both the community writ large and businesses on 43 experience both adverse and positive impacts to County Road 43. Certainly, so I am grateful to Ms. Dunlop and her team who have highlighted the need to continue some of the engagement we've been doing throughout the various months and years of this project. So any questions, colleagues? I'm not seeing any, so I'll look for a mover and a seconder then in regards to moving the motion. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sullivan, thank you. And the motion specifically is that council authorize a draw from year-end surplus of $43,000 to support and enhance communication outreach program and business engagement for local residents and businesses for the balance of the 2026 year. You did, however, Ms. Dunlop mentioned the crossing guard, and the allocation of funds for the crossing guard would allow for the entire school year or simply till the end of the month, to the end of this year?
The intent is to be reactivated. There's no crossing guard there at the
Yes,
moment,
of
but
course.
once school comes back in September, to engage the crossing guard for the school year.
Perfect, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I have a question, Madam Mayor, through you to the CAO. In this motion before us, it talks about drawing from the year-end surplus. Later on, we'll be dealing with the tourism CIP, and the funds will be drawn from the general working reserve. Are we just calling the same thing by two different names, or is there a rationale to draw from surplus versus the working reserve in this case, or is where's the money coming from, basically?
Through you, Your Worship, the year-end surplus as well as the general reserves are ultimately the same bank account. The year-end surpluses, based on our current reserve policies, not the ones that you'll see in about 2 months, but direct those funds just back into general. So it's really the same thing using different words.
Maybe we could land on going forward, some consistent language of where the money's coming from. Thanks.
All right, Councillor Wilson?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Peckford. I guess I'm backtracking here a little bit. Can I ask a question about crossing guard? We're currently paying for the crossing guard for the kids to cross the street to go to St. Mike's because of the traffic, correct?
That is correct, through you, your worship.
Are we paying for the crossing guard to cross the street for the kids at Prescott and Van Buren?
Through you, your worship, yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? I certainly know that when we added the crossing guard at on Kennedy Road 43 across from St. Mike's, we heard from a lot of parents in the community as well as the manager of the project through the counties. Bill Guy was extremely supportive of adding that second crossing guard. So to support the new navigation of that particular roundabout for not just school kids, but also a lot of seniors and others who are using it. So, okay, motion's on the table. If there's nothing else, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? All right, that carries. Thank you very much. So with that, we're going to go to the Water Pollution Control Plant, Phase B tendering. I believe, Mr. Finley, you're on deck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the purpose of this report tonight is to award the tendering and contract administration works for Phase B of our water pollution control plant expansion. And the cost for that right now that we have is $2,130,400, excluding taxes. So this is moving in, as we mentioned, into Phase B. We are still under construction for Phase A, but looking towards excuse me, the wrap up of that project and looking towards tendering, getting ready for construction and moving forward with the project. So part of that requires the tendering phase and like we mentioned, contract admin. So JL Richards was retained to complete the initial design for the expansion prior to us dividing out into Phase A and B of construction. And they were also retained to provide the tendering and contract admin works for Phase A. If, as council would remember, we were successful for Phase B as part of the Housing Enabling Water System Fund, which provided us with just under $25 million of an estimated $35 million construction project, and which part of that, the project contract administration costs that we are proposing for award tonight are eligible under that funding program. I do note that as part of entering into that contract in March of this year, that we did receive 25% of the eligible funds upfront to help for these funding pieces ahead of construction. For council's reminder, the components for Phase B include 2 new equalization storage tanks, retrofit of the existing aeration tanks into secondary clarifiers, retrofit of the existing primary clarifiers into a new tertiary filter and effluent holding tank building. We're looking to relocate where the original design of the SEPTAS receiving station was, and final grading and paving of the entire site. So the paving that was removed from Phase A, we'll do it all in one shot in Phase B. So that is our recommendation. We've been working with JL Richards, again, with the Phase A component because of their familiarity with the project, the timelines under the funding project, or under the grant program for the funding project. We went with a single source recommendation, as it would be difficult to bring in a new consultant to review the design, do the tendering, and contract admin with the timelines that the funding program has provided. So that is the report I have for council, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? No? Okay. Can I get a mover then for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Strachian. A seconder, Councillor O'Sullivan. What? There's new chair. Okay. So any further conversation on this motion? We've got a mover and a seconder. So I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's passed. Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Finley. Next up on my list is the tourism improvement plan, PD 2026-043. And is that coming from you, Ms. Torch? No? Where is that coming from? Amy. Amy.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this evening, I am presenting the bylaws to establish both a community improvement area for the Tourism Community Improvement Plan, as well as to adopt the Tourism Community Improvement Plan. So we do require two separate bylaws. So as council is aware, we did hold a public meeting under the Planning Act on June 10th of this year. During this meeting, there was no feedback received from members of the public, and there was a lot of good discussion that occurred with council in general related to community improvement plans. So the plan presented to you this evening contains no proposed changes, as again, it was quite well received at our June 10th meeting. What I would like to say is that on an annual basis, staff will be reporting back to council on the community improvement plan as it relates to tourism. And at that time, discussions can be had about whether certain programs want to be more of the focus than others. And I think in part it'll really depend on what the uptake is of the program and some of the key areas that council is interested in funding. What I will say, it is a very comprehensive plan with lots of funding mechanisms. So from time to time, we may want to focus on some over the others, again, on what would be the desired outcome on an annual basis from council as it relates to the tourism industry. Attached to the report this evening is also an implementation plan, which would delegate the community improvement plan process down to the staff level with the economic development department, which also encompasses tourism. So this would include the evaluation and awarding of the grant funds in a predetermined funding envelope that is established by council as part of the annual budget process. This evening, and recognizing that it should have been part of the recommendation to council, is staff's recommendation for this year to have $25,000 approved from the general working reserve to fund the proposed community improvement plan for the next 6 months, with consideration for additional funds coming as part of the annual budget process. That is a healthy budget in consultation with Vitality Planning, who prepared the plan. That was a number that they had recommended to us to cover off the remainder of this year. And as you recall, when the consultant was here, she did say $50,000 annually for this type of community improvement plan was quite appropriate. So to that end, before council this evening is the recommendation to establish a community improvement area that encompasses the entirety of the municipality. And I do want to note, just as a reminder, that as part of the implementation, the community improvement plan for tourism would not be able to be stacked with the downtown community improvement plan, because we do want to encourage, as much as we want to support projects on a much deeper level, being able to ensure that the project dollars go further. You wouldn't be able to stack the funds from one community improvement plan with another. They are meant to be standalone. So seeking approval from council this evening to adopt that community improvement plan project area, the community improvement plan, and to allocate $25,000 for the working reserve, from the working reserve for the remainder of 2026 to support the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Martin. Before I go to the rest of council, I've got a couple of questions. When you say it can't be stacked, I mean, that's not what I read originally, that they could be stacked. So there's a number of programs. There's like 12 programs within that envelope of funding. I can see how some of them, it might be unfair to stack, but other ones should be available to the merchants downtown, I think.
Through the chair, in regards to that, within the tourism community improvement plan, you could stack the funding, but you couldn't apply for, say, a signed grant from the downtown community improvement plan and a signed grant to the tourism community improvement plan. You would have to choose one of those programs to apply for the signage grant. So you wouldn't be able to say, I'm applying under the tourism community improvement plan for $500 or whatever the max is, and I'm going to apply under the downtown community improvement plan for the same grants, for the same funding. You would have to pick one of those programs. There might be funding that is included in the downtown community improvement plan that is separate and doesn't even touch the programs within the tourism community improvement plan. That wouldn't preclude you from applying to them, but you can apply for the same type of incentive under both plans.
Okay, so we don't want to duplicate our programs and have people double dip in that sense. My second question regards to a comment I made, or I think maybe Councillor Wilson made the comment at the original presentation from the consultants about had the consultants looked at the public art policy that Parks, Rec and Culture has. And I noticed that there's still an outdoor art grant available. So seems to me that there might be, again, another opportunity where people would want to stack. And are we prohibiting that?
Through the chair, again, the intent wouldn't be like, as much as we want to try and maximize municipal dollars, we also want to ensure that they can support a variety of different projects. If council wants to give the directive that we would allow for stacking, I mean, that is council's prerogative to do so. My recommendation is that you do keep them separate from that funding mechanism, just to purely allow for the the spread and the availability of those funds for a variety of different projects.
But I see in the composition of this tourism CIP that there is duplication where I don't know if we want to include the outdoor art grant in the tourism CIP when people can avail themselves of the funding that's available through the public art policy. Oh, do you have a response to that?
Through the chair, I mean, ultimately it is, if council wants to exclude that funding mechanism from the tourism community improvement plan, that direction can be given this evening to remove it.
Councillor Strachan, and then I'll hear from Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, through Chair Barkley. So I think my question to Director Martin is similar. The Rural CIP is on the list of things to do for the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, and it is on tomorrow night's agenda. There is an item on here called Agritourism and Rural Diversification Grant. Similar to the public arts policy, are we putting one in one place, or are we allowed to have it in the other place as well? Because if it's here and we create a rural CIP as well, we're going to have a duplication of effectively something that has the same intent. And public art policy, perhaps the public art policy becomes where the outdoor art grant is, and it gets brought into this tourism CIP if the intent is to have everything under one umbrella. And then at the same time, if the maximum funding for the tourism CIP and all of the possible funding options underneath it all have to fall within 50,000, then there is some choosing that has to happen by council as to which ones will be funded on any given year, in order to use that funding wisely. Because right now the rural one on here, the Ag and Rural Diversification Grant, is up to 25,000. That's a huge chunk of the 50,000 if that one were to be approved in any given year. So I'm not sure. I'm a bit confused as to where it should be. And if the rural CIP conversation shouldn't happen tomorrow night because it's already taken care of here, then that would be good to know as well. So some of your guidance would be appreciated. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Strachan, I think that it becomes a bit of a challenge when we start to have multiple community improvement plans that offer a lot, very similar programs. I mean, we have, tourism is very much so widely based within the municipality, where we do have a specific downtown community improvement plan where you might have some tourism-based businesses. So there's always that opportunity to overlap. And recognizing that agritourism is a large part of our tourism industry here in North Grenville, but it's also a larger part of our rural economy. I don't see an issue when you have similar programs within different community improvement plans, because you may, be applying for multiple programs under the tourism community improvement plan. That makes sense. And you kind of pick and choose which program you go under. And the intent of not stacking is, again, to prevent one business from receiving, all of the funds in regards to, their proposed project. As for, setting those priorities, I mean, that's fully within council's purview. And I'll wait for your follow-up question.
Yeah, through you, Chair Barkley, to Director Martin. I guess it's not about stacking in this case, is that why would we create two effective CIPs saying the same thing? Because then from a budgeting perspective, council has to allocate two different pots of money for the same thing. So if a rural CIP is the Agritourism and Rural Diversification Grant, then we don't need to have that conversation at Ag and Rural Affairs because it's already defined here. If what we're saying is that the rural CIP that we've been asked to work on for this term of council is inherently different, which I'm having a hard time seeing how it would be, then we've just increased the amount of funding available maybe twice-fold to the rural community in the similar way that we could for public art or for any of the other ones where there may be already existing ones that are also listed in here. So I'm not, I guess I understand the stacking conversation. I think it's separate from what I'm asking right now. It's just that we're going down two parallel paths.
Through the chair to Councillor Chakrian, in response to that, ultimately, I mean, council sets these community improvement plans, and there's going to be parallels with the rural economy and rural business and rural tourism initiatives. As to what those final programs that are within each community improvement plan, it's the council could decide that we want to remove that and feel it's more appropriate within a rural community improvement plan. As to where it lies, I mean, I understand the parallel programs and how they can support both, which is fantastic. I think it's great that we're recognizing that these are important components, but it's, as to that final adoption of each of the community improvement plans, council does have that authority to decide where maybe that specific funding program lives. So then when you're looking at it on an annual basis as to how you're funding the community improvement plans, and I know at the last meeting we discussed, we just create one global amount that all community improvement plans draw from, which could be another approach. Again, it's just where you want that program to live in which document. So you avoid what I'm hearing is that concern of having the same program duplicated in the same document. So council can pick and choose which one document they want that to live in. So because the rural community improvement plan isn't a finalized community improvement plan adopted by council, the consultants provided that comprehensive, here's all of the programs that would be a benefit to the tourism industry.
Understood. It is part of the work plan, so I would have thought that consideration would have been given to that as to whether or not to include it. So I don't have a problem with it landing in here. I guess that's a question for council, is that are we making that decision tonight about where we are making those decisions? Outdoor art grant versus the public art policy. Are those two separate ones? And so it should only be in one place? I think that's the question that I have, because this is a live conversation. I'm just looking at the rural CIP. Happy to take it off the agenda for tomorrow night if it's not required, though. So I don't really want to go down a path of frustration for any of the residents that are engaged in this if it's not required. That's not for you, Director Martin. Sorry, that was directed at the rest of council.
Yeah,
Thank you.
before I go to Councillor Wilson, I'd just like to say this is a perfect opportunity for community improvement integrated planning. It seems to me that Parks, Rec and Culture and ECDev, could get together to talk about public art. We've got a $3,000 grant here under this CIP, and the public art policy allows for considerable more money. So, I'm inclined to take that off of this because there's more money available through the public art policy once we know what the balance is. And to your point, yes, I don't see the need to go forward with that discussion at Rural Affairs if this, this certain program under the envelope of tourism CIP is available, or vice versa. So I'm inclined to suggest that we take it, we refer this back to staff and have senior leadership team get together and sort out the three proposed CIPs that we're considering. So. Councillor Wilson, you had your hand up. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, the chair, to Director Martin and everyone else around the horseshoe here we have. There's a lot of things in here that I think the municipality is already doing, and we already ask for this, streetscape improvements, sidewalk pedestrian enhancements. So are these CIPs here for businesses and individuals to be able to apply for these? As the BIA is already doing some of these things with some of the funding that they get through RTO9 and various other entities. Where the municipality is already putting up seasonal installations and decorations and lights and all that. So is this kind of a document that just entails everything for the community? And is this how we want to go? I reiterate what you're saying is let's kick it back and just come up with something that is not, that needs to be filled, that's not currently filled right now. Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, we have the public art policy. We already have the Arts and Culture Development Fund. We have this, is there a sustainability? I don't know. I'm not on that one. Environmental action. There's also, we have the diversity and inclusion type EDI fund. I don't know. I'm lost. I'm lost.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In regards to the multiple CIPs that we have, the one proposed this evening in regards to the tourism, as well as the other grants and community benefits that the municipality provides, if I may propose that if it is council's wish that we pass the tourism CIP to get moving, but also look at a streamlined approach, similar to what we would do in regards to grants from higher levels of government. You apply to the FCM under the green stream, you apply to the FCM under this stream. Maybe it's similar to what Director Martin has suggested, that in 2027, we look at combining all the CIPs under one umbrella with separate streams. You know, one bulk value of money, and have the individual streams an application process to come back to council. So if we could approve, should it be council's wish, to move forward with the tourism CIP so that we can get that one rolling and see what the interest is as well. Let's get it out there, should council wish to approve it, and then looking 2027 at a streamlined approach.
Well, that would be up to the next council to decide. Councillor Strachan. Also, I'll recognize you after Councillor Strachan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Barkley. Yes, putting it all under one. I'm not sure what we're approving tonight, other than $25,000 to go to something, which we haven't prioritized, and there's a long list. So if that's what the suggestion is, then I guess no harm, no foul necessarily to do that, but we will have duplication right from the outset. Can we not address that duplication before we approve a final tourism CIP? I just, to approve it just to say that it's not accurate and we want to change it maybe doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense to me. So, but I don't know if timing is more so the issue. Yeah, I'm not in favor of just approving it as is. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Mayor Peckford.
And thank you, Deputy Mayor, for stepping into the chair position. Certainly, it sounds to me as previous conversations with the CEO have highlighted perhaps that a number of entities have been sort of watching and waiting and are sort of eager to potentially avail of a tourism CIP. As you know, it was, I think, over a year ago where we activated the process of developing a CIP. I wonder if a solution might be to extract the public art provision and Councillor Strachan's identification of some of the rural elements, Councillor Strachan, at least subject to the further development or explorations of a rural CIP, or to caveat them as elements that could come into a tourism CIP effective 2027. Because I'm hearing that there are 2 areas of significant duplication, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe those can be extracted this evening so that other aspects of the CIP, tourism CIP in particular, can proceed. And Ms. Dunlop, if there's anything else you have to add, feel free.
Councillor Strachan.
I'm not, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if those are the only 2 areas of duplication. Those are the ones that stood out to me. I think if we were going to approve the tourism CIP, keeping them as is, because it's $25,000 of funding for rural initiatives, where the CIP would still require a conversation, would require going forward. So it would put money on the table right now. my question is that why is it on the work plan if we put it in here? So we endeavored to go down that path to create a rural CIP. So it's a bit confusing on our part as to where the initiative was coming from. However, I wouldn't want to take it off this list because it does leave potential money available to applicants right now, as opposed to potentially in a couple of months by the time it gets in front of council for review and approval.
Deputy Mayor, if I might, as a follow-up?
Yes, absolutely.
So given Councillor Strachan's comments, could we adopt the tourism CIP as proposed this evening? Maybe save and accept the public arts policy if there's a discomfort around that piece, as there is an existing fund that is already distributing money. And could we provide direction to staff to come back no later than the end of the year to identify those areas of duplication subject to where rural or other CIPs may fund similar things? So that direction to staff could be provided this evening so that there is another look at this from a council perspective before the adoption of a budget in 2027.
I think that would be a great move.
All right.
Resolution, if you want to do it. It's the outdoor art grant
Yes.
that we would be removing,
Extracting.
but we'd be taking $3,000 out of the CIP unless we reallocate it to another one of the programs. And maybe I'll leave it up to Director Martin to use her discretion where that $3,000 would go if we are successfully removing it in a resolution.
Through you, Chair, you wouldn't have to reallocate the $3,000. I think the funding envelopes for each of the programs is fine. You would just remove it as a program.
Would you like to
Yes.
do that? Plus, the second part of your motion is to direct staff to come back before the end of the year?
No
before the
later
end of
than,
this term?
no later than, it could be no later than the end of this term of council, which I believe is in November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If that probably makes the most sense, given where the discussion is this
okay.
evening.
All right.
So I could move, if you wish,
Yes.
the adoption of the tourism CIP with the removal of the outdoor art policy. Grant,
Yep.
apologize, and that I would further move as part of the motion that we direct staff to return to this council no later than the last meeting of this term of council with potential refinements based upon any duplication that's identified between now and then. And it is my pleasure to move something. It's so rare for me to do that.
Well, let's just check and see if we've captured that. You have? Okay. So then we'd be looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. So we've got a motion on the table. Councillor Strachan, Councillor Wilson. Any comments? Any further comments? Councillor Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair, for indulging me. Another overlap is part of wayfinding and tourism signage. We're already working with a funding for heritage interpretation plaques, also in our Arts and Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee. So there's another overlap piece.
I don't see how they're in, I don't see that's double stacked. There's a fixed budget for heritage plaques of $10,000
Yes,
a
but
year.
it's still part.
But that's something the committee spends and decides on. It's not through an application to a CIP.
Yes, it is. It's included here. Heritage interpretation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. On 6.3,
Oh,
wayfinding.
So as the mover, Councillor Wilson, is it your preference that we take that out then? Or we can leave it in and address potential duplication down the road? Perfect. Okay. All right. So,
So we're not including that in the motion? Okay. All right.
right.
We're not including it in the motion. No, we're not including it.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion on the motion on the table? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay. Oh, yes. I need someone to move a short break, 2 or 3 minute break.
I'll move that.
Okay, seconder? Okay, thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. And we're going to take a 2 to 3 minute break. So 8:21.
Thank you.
And we're back. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the Water Pollution Control Plant Phase A Contract Administrative Service Extension. And I believe it's Director Finley who's going to give us the report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the purpose of this report tonight is to extend the contract administrative services for Phase A of the plant construction to JL Richards and Associates for $690,000, excluding taxes. Originally, when the contract admin services were awarded, it looked at a 24-month construction period, and that was where the original fees were developed from. As we've moved through the project, it originally started in May of 2024, and we've gone now past the 2-year or the 24-month scope that was originally anticipated, and based on the current schedule that we've received from the contractor, it's looking to show project completion in March of 2027, which is about a 34-month construction period. So what we're looking for here is to continue with JL Richards services that they are providing, which is on full-time on-site inspection, as well as addressing any requests for information, submittal reviews, change orders, change notices, requests for shutdowns and items like that, as well as their payment certificates, all the administration pieces of capital construction. So we are looking to continue the services. It is our recommendation that we move forward with this contract extension. Of course, it was not anticipated originally, so we are looking at this as additional fees that are above the original approved scope. And I am happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. Any questions from council colleagues on this particular item? I have a question then. So this extension of the contract is due to some delays, and I note in your report that there was a 78-week delivery time delay for a generator. Are we insured against these kind of, 78 weeks is a year and a half, right? Is that built into the contract? Like, I mean, it seems very unusual, and we're paying the cost of that delay. Like the subcontractors who are providing us with this equipment, surely there's a timeline involved. I mean, can you comment on that delay? It seems highly unusual, or maybe it's not unusual. It just seems, a long delay.
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. And supply chain issues are getting better as time has gone on. Of course, a number of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, it was very difficult, especially in electrical and mechanical equipment. There was very, very long lead times once they were ordered. So things, as time has caught up, things have gotten better. Excuse me. However, that we still run into some supply chain issues that have created some of these delays that weren't anticipated at the time as well. We were understanding, or we're hoping that there would be quicker turnaround times. We do work both with the contractor, our general contractor, and their suppliers to see where we can speed things up where possible. However, unfortunately, some of these specialized pieces do take quite a bit of time, or there's long lead time. Once they go through shop drawing approval, they don't manufacture them till there is full approval. So unfortunately, it is part of the nature of some of the specialized equipment that we're looking for.
And earlier this evening, you spoke to contingency fees of being 10 to 15%. With this large-scale project, what kind of contingencies are we working within? And is there any room in the contingency for this particular item, this contract tendering and administration, that we're absorbing in order to keep that? Have we used some of that contingency to arrive at that $690,000 figure?
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. So for the soft costs, we didn't build in a contingency for that. So that's where we have a contingency on the construction, a $3 million contingency on the construction cost that was awarded. We are about 750,000 through that, so there is room in there, but that's dedicated towards the construction piece. So until there is potential, depending on how the contract rounds out, but we don't, that is set aside for the construction piece, not the contract admin or the soft costs. So we're looking for this on top. If we, as we always work through, if there is contingency available in there, we can always use that towards it, but we're not using it at this point.
So help me understand. So generally speaking, we don't apply a contingency to soft costs like contract administration. Perhaps moving forward, we could take a look at having some sort of contingency because it's obviously related. If we have to extend their contract or due to some supply chain on the capital side, would it not be prudent to have a bit of contingency for contract administration and tendering?
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. It depends on some of the contracts we set up. Sometimes we do have a contingency in place in terms of our overall budget and what we've awarded to a contract administrator or a consulting service. At this point, we've maxed out what's already been allocated. So any dollar values that were approved by council, we're beyond that any contingency that we had in there. So that's why we're coming back.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'm looking for a mover. I guess I should follow the script here. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for item number 7, the Water Pollution Control Plant Phase A Contract Administration Service Extension. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And to second it, Councillor O'Sullivan. Any further discussion? I will call the vote. All in favor? Off we go. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is correspondence. Does any member of council wish to discuss any of the correspondence items this evening? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, through your chair. There's 2 items that I'd just like to draw everyone's attention to that possibly go back and read them, and I'd like to move them forward that we keep an eye on it. N4 is modernizing Ontario's invasive plant rules to protect taxpayers, municipal lands, agricultural, natural heritage, and local gardens. So if you read the report, you'll find that we're spending an awful lot of money trying to mitigate a lot of invasive species through the conservation authorities, through the municipalities, and I would like to support something like this that moving forward. And I do have another one.
Well, are you going to move that we
could support
that we support the letter from Halton
Yep.
Hills
Yep.
as displayed?
Please.
Okay. You'll need a seconder for that. Yeah. Oh, Councillor Sarkisian, thanks. Any discussion on this particular item? So what we're doing is the council support the letter regarding modernizing Ontario's invasive plants rules to protect taxpayers, municipal lands, agriculture, natural heritage, and local gardens. So we are in support of that letter. And usually it's distributed to everybody on that CC
And
list.
just a caveat to that, the reason that this is coming forward is that there's a lot of garden centers and nurseries, tree nurseries especially also, that are growing invasive species that are actually worse for our environment and costing us a lot of money to clean up. So I think this is a letter to support. Let's stop this and clean our act up as far as our plants are growing.
Thanks for providing that rationale, but I think the motion is simply to support the letter from Halton Hills and distributed to everyone on that CC list. Great. So we've got a mover and a seconder, so I'll call the question. All in favor? That's passed. You had another letter that you want to draw our attention to?
Yes, I do. Thank you, through you, Chair. Canada Post rate reduction for the libraries, N7. So a little bit of background on that is our local library does ship out books to people that want to read, and those costs are going up And this letter, I'm glad to see it. I'd like to support us to support this.
Wait for the clerk to bring that up. So we've got that on the record. Do you have access to that letter? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, great. And so this is a letter from the Township of Southgate. So the motion would be to support this letter and distribute it.
And perhaps construct one of our own.
Oh, well, you'd have to come back with
I
it.
will come back with that. Thank you.
Okay. But let's support this in the meantime, or are you, yeah, okay. So you're moving that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, and we're looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. Any discussion on that one motion? No, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that's passed. Okay, notice of motions. Oh yeah, here we go. So are there any notice of motions for consideration at this meeting? Seeing none, we go on to a notice of motion for consideration at a future meeting of council. And I have one. Let me find it here. Okay. So moved by, this is the motion, and please bear with me. I beg your indulgence because it's rather long. I'm going to read it into the record. And it's as follows. Whereas the municipality of North Grenville has received concurrent applications for an official planned amendment, OPA-1-26, and a zoning bylaw amendment, ZBA-5-26, from R.W. Tomlinson Limited to permit a Class A below water table aggregate pit on part of lots 13 and 14, Concession 8, municipally addressed as 1486 O'Neill Road, proposing a licensed area of 44.1 hectares and an extraction area of 37.2 hectares and a minimum annual tonnage of 1 million tons. And whereas a concurrent application for an Aggregate Resource Act license has been submitted by R.W. Tomlinson Limited to the Ministry of Natural Resources in connection with the same lands, and whereas a further Class A below water table pit license application, ERO 19-2389, has been filed by Cornwall Gravel Company Limited for a 58.27 hectare site on County Road 22 within the municipality with a proposed annual extraction volume of 500,000 tons, and that application remains pending before the Ministry of Natural Resources. And whereas these applications reflect broader aggregate development pressure across the municipality that the current official plan policy framework was not designed to address on a cumulative basis. And whereas the municipality's official plan aggregate policies, and that would be Section 7, 2018 consolidated March 23rd, have not been comprehensively reviewed and do not provide an adequate policy framework to evaluate below water table pit applications with respect to cumulative hydrogeological impacts, haul route effects, proximity to private wells and wellhead protection areas, duty to consult First Nations, cumulative effects with adjacent licensed aggregate operations, independent peer review of applicant-submitted technical studies, noise from extended hour operations, or natural heritage protection in proximity to wetland features. And whereas Section 38 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13, authorizes council to pass an interim control bylaw to prohibit or regulate land uses while the municipality undertakes a study of the use of land in the affected area. Now, therefore, be it resolved that 1, the clerk be directed to prepare an interim control bylaw under Section 38 of the Planning Act, restricting the establishment of new aggregate operations and the expansion of existing aggregate operations onto lands not currently licensed or zoned for pit or quarry use within the municipality of North Grenville. such bylaw to be presented to council for consideration no later than August 18th, 2026. 2, prior to the passage of the interim control bylaw, staff be directed to retain an independent planning consultant to prepare a formal planning rationale identifying key issues within the existing official plan aggregate policy framework and explaining why an interim control bylaw is warranted. Such rationale to be presented to council alongside the bylaw on August 18th, 2026 at that meeting. 3, the Director of Planning and Development to be directed to initiate an aggregate resource policy review to be completed within the period of the interim control bylaw, addressing at minimum the following policy themes: air quality, cumulative effects, First Nations consultation, haul routes, hydrogeological impacts, including cross-reference to wellhead protection areas and proximity to private wells, independent peer review of applicant technical studies at the applicant's cost, natural heritage, noise, including extended hour operations and surface water, including below water table extraction and permanent water body rehabilitation. 4, the municipality confirm that applications OPAA 1-26 and ZBA 5-26 will continue to be processed during the period of the interim control bylaw, during the period the interim control bylaw is in effect, in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. And 5, the Director of Planning and Development be directed to report to council quarterly on the status of the review at regular meetings of council during the period of the interim control bylaw, during the period the interim control bylaw is in effect. Thank you for your indulgence, and that'll hopefully rise to council on the 15th for deliberation. Next is petitions and written communications from the public. There are no petitions or written communications. Miscellaneous unfinished business, there's none. Period of questions from the media and public. I don't see the public here, but perhaps they've contacted the clerk. Have they? No questions have come to the clerk. And finally, I'll look for a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you, Councillor Starkey, and seconded by Councillor O'Sullivan. Any discussion? No, I don't. There's no discussion on that. So I'll call the question. All in favor? That's passed. Finally, look for a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting at 8:41 p.m. Councillor Wilson, thank you, and seconded by Councillor O'Sullivan. No discussion. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much.